Well, good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Si necesita alguien que esta presentación sea en español, por favor nos avisa y lo hace electrónicamente presionando la manito, levante la mano en el screen o llame al asterisco 9 en su teléfono antes de empezar esta presentación.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to the Nitrate Initial Assessment Community Outreach Meeting. My name is Michael Carbajal, and I'm the Director of Public Utilities for the City of Fresno. Recognize that everyone's busy. Today's a beautiful day outside, and I want to thank our attendees for allowing us to take up part of your day to communicate about the ongoing nitrate initial assessment at the Fresno Clovis Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility, which is located in Southwest Fresno. In response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we are using a virtual platform today to bring you some news about the Nitrate Initial Assessment Project and hopefully answer some questions as you are most likely from the neighborhood. We would prefer to connect with you in person, but the current guidelines that are in place kind of prevent us from doing that at this time. And so this is the next best alternative, and we appreciate your flexibility in that. At the end of the presentation, we'll provide our contact information and some additional informational resources. And we encourage you to reach out to us with any questions or concerns that you might have following this presentation. So the nitrate initial assessment is a complex project. It's driven by new regulatory requirements. It involves technical studies, and that includes groundwater testing. So we are going to provide an overview of that project. And I'd like to point out that the main purpose, though, is to partner with you as your property is likely close to the regional wastewater reclamation facility. And we would like to test your private groundwater well to ensure that you have access to safe and clean groundwater. Before we get started, though, I'd like to introduce Rosa Staggs and Jeff Stovall. They will be presenting information about our current nitrate initial assessment. Rosa Staggs is our wastewater manager for the city of Fresno, and she is also the project manager leading the nitrate initial assessment. Jeff Stovall is with Carollo Engineers, so the city has partnered with Carollo on this effort. Jeff is the lead consultant. He's our subject matter expert, and he will be providing some information today as far as this effort goes. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Rosa and Jeff. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for participating on our meeting here about the nitrate initial assessment with the city of Fresno. We want to let you know, even though I mentioned it earlier, that there will be information available in Spanish and Hmong that you can find in our website. There's going to be a number of information available in both languages and of course in English. The format of today's presentation will be, we're going to do the presentation first, and then we're going to go to the question and answer. And if you have a question, please use the Q&A feature on the screen. If you are on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and then we will provide information to the panel, and they can answer the questions for you. We reserve the right to monitor the content of today's meeting, and we might remove content that is not appropriate for this meeting. And we also want to let you know that we are recording the presentation, so that you can find it on the City Fresno website within the next 24 hours. Next slide. Thank you. Today, we have a number of discussion topics all related to the nitrate initial assessment. We are going to be talking about the nitrate in drinking water and what is the Central Valley doing with the nitrate control program. What is the city of Fresno doing with the nitrate initial assessment? We are going to speak about the analyzing the current groundwater conditions in the area near the Fresno Clovis wastewater reclamation facility. We are going to briefly discuss alternative water supplies that the city will be offering in certain circumstances. Of course, we're going to be talking also about working with neighbors and stakeholders, and we want to share with them what we're doing, and we would like to hear their opinion on the options that we will be presenting, as well as the option for the alternate compliance plan. We want to involve the neighbors and, that are impacting in the vicinity of that treatment facility. We'll discuss briefly the next steps that are going to happen after this presentation. We're going to have a session of questions and answers, and we want to provide information resources for contacts in case you have questions later after this presentation. Michael is correct. This is a complex project and it's a complex program. And there is a lot of pieces, and we are here as the City of Fresno Wastewater Management Division to assist you on your, if you have any questions. Next slide. So talking about nitrate in drinking water. Nitrate is naturally occurring. You can find nitrate in soils and naturally. And however, it can get into groundwater through many different sources. The sources could be from runoff from fertilizers, wastewater for industrial facilities that land spread their wastewater or their waste, from runoff from agricultural and farming operations, and as well as from wastewater discharge from treatment facilities like ours. The limit for nitrate, it is a California Code of Regulation Title 22 limit. The limit for nitrate as nitrogen is 10 milligrams per liter. Above this limit is detrimental for, it's unsafe to drink for babies and pregnant women. Nitrate testing is the only, through laboratory testing, is the way in which we find the levels of nitrates at drinking water, and the same for your private well. Next slide, please. So the Central Valley Nitrate Control Program is an extensive program that is helping the Central Valley control the levels of nitrate and drinking water supplies. This is a tremendous effort that started about more than 10 years ago, and is a coordination with the Central Valley Salinity Alternatives for Long-Term Sustainability, or CVSOLS, and the Central Valley Regional Water Resources Control Board. So this is a group of stakeholders, CVSOLS. I want to talk about CVSOLS a bit. It's a group of stakeholders comprised by multiple type of industries. We have growers, we have dairies, we have mining operations, local industries, water and wastewater agencies, environmental organizations, as well as the state of California. Years ago, they formed CVSOL so that we can address the upcoming problems of the salinity in the Central Valley, and later on, nitrate became a big focus for this group. And the purpose of CVSOLs is to develop sustainable salinity, nitrate, and nitrate management plan, so that in the Central Valley, so that we can continue providing safe drinking water. Next slide. So what is the City of Fresno doing on the nitrate initial assessment? Well, as we said earlier, wastewater treatment facilities are one of the sources of nitrate that could be entering groundwater. So the city of Fresno operates the Fresno Clovis Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility. And this the city is doing its part to assess the potential effects that the operational processes at the facility, at the treatment facility, could be causing to the groundwater in the area. That's why one of the things that I want to mention that this program, this project is specific to the wastewater treatment facility area, as we are addressing this nitrate control program on the individually. We are not together with other groups. Just as an observation, when we're talking about the city of Fresno itself, the city of Fresno receive public water source, is the public water source. So they receive water. The citizens of Fresno, the city of Fresno customers receive water that are regularly tested for nitrate and other contaminants through a public water system. Next slide. A little bit about the Fresno Clovis Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility. What a long name. Located in Jensen and Cornelia, and we have been treating at a secondary level since 1975. If we go a bit on history, actually the city of Fresno treatment facility has been operating since the late 1800s. We receive about 59 million gallons per day of wastewater, and is treated at different levels. About 5 million gallons of this influent of water or wastewater is treated at a disinfected tertiary level. And this is later used for landscape and crop irrigation and is unrestricted use. This water is used by farmers downstream nearby us, as well as other landscaping projects. The rest of the water is treated at an undisinfected secondary level. A small portion of this goes to irrigate farmland for non-food crops. These farmlands are surrounding the treatment facility. And the rest of the water goes to a network of disposal ponds, which will allow the water to percolate and go through the soil and will eventually, incidentally, get into the groundwater of the area. So we use another network of extraction wells to pump water from underneath the facility, underneath ponds, and provide and put that water in irrigation canals for further use of this water, extraction well water, for crop irrigation, which is also unrestricted, as this water is considered equivalent to a disinfected tertiary level treatment. Next slide. Now I am going to pass the presentation to Jeff Stovall.
Thank you, Rosa. One of the key tasks in the nitrate assessment is to analyze groundwater conditions to determine if the Fresno Clovis Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility is affecting nitrate levels in the domestic water wells around the facility. For this evaluation, we relied on water quality analyses of samples collected from the City of Fresno groundwater monitoring wells and also from domestic and agricultural wells located near the RWRF. The sampled wells are shown on the map in the figure to the left. We compiled data for multiple constituents in the groundwater to determine if the area of nitrate, or to determine the area of nitrate contribution of the RWRF. The area of nitrate contribution is shown on both of these figures as the blue-green shaded area. This represents the part of the aquifer that contains water originating from the facility where nitrate concentrations could be affected by the discharge. We identified about 34 private domestic wells within that area. These wells are indicated by the larger green squares in the figure on the right. Other nearby domestic wells are within the area of the Kings Water Alliance management zone. Next slide. Monitoring for nitrates and alternative water supplies. The first step in this process is to sample the water from your well to determine if the nitrate concentration is greater than the drinking water standard of 10 milligrams per liter. For this sampling, the city will coordinate directly with property owners and residents to collect a sample from the well. It'll take a few business days to receive the nitrate results from the laboratory. When those results are received, the city will contact you to share the information. If the nitrate level is greater than 10 milligrams per liter, the city will coordinate an immediate delivery of bottled water to your residents. Once the bottled water deliveries have started, the city will coordinate an alternative water supply service with you and will follow up with you after 1 month, in 6 months, and annually thereafter. Property owners will have the option to have domestic wells retested annually. Next slide. An alternative water supply will be made available if the domestic well sampling results show that nitrate levels are greater than 10 milligrams per liter. It is important that we have input from property owners on the drinking water solutions that will be included in the city's early action plan that is due on May 7th. Water supply options include coordinating bottled water delivery to the residents, installing a point of use treatment system at individual homes, usually at the kitchen sink, or establishing drinking water fill stations where you can fill your own containers. The King's Water Alliance has an existing fill station in Kerman that is free to use for anyone. Next slide. For implementation of the alternative water supply, the city will contract with a third-party vendor who will coordinate directly with property owners and residents to implement and maintain the alternative water supply. The city will cover the costs associated with the water supply, including installation and maintenance of a point-of-use treatment system or for the delivery of bottled water. City personnel will only visit properties to collect samples for testing the domestic wells and will not visit during implementation and maintenance efforts, which will be provided by the vendor. Next slide. As part of the nitrate control program, the city is required to prepare an alternative compliance plan. The alternative compliance plan presents the city's proposed plan for bringing the affected groundwater into compliance and describes near and long-term projects to improve water quality in the city's discharge to the aquifer. The city is now preparing the ACP to be submitted along with the early action plan in May of this year. At this time, Rosa Staggs will conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Jeff. So what are the next steps? Well, we want to continue discussions with our neighbors, the property owners that we have recently contacted. We want to coordinate the efforts and see their opinion about what we are providing as the options for alternative sources of water. The city of Fresno is required to submit a nitrate initial assessment report that includes an early action plan by May 7, 2021. And we are working in preparing right now and finalizing some of the details. As a matter of fact, this outreach presentation is part of the requirement for our submittal. We are gonna begin implementing the early action plan no later than 60 days after submittal. This also means that we are not gonna be sampling anybody until after May 7th. But we would like to still get an early authorization from the property owner so that we can access the facility after May 2021. Once we get the results from the nitrate, that will take a few days. We are running the test on site in our in-home lab. It's a ELAB certified laboratory. We are going to share the test results promptly with our property owners. In the meantime, if there are results that are over the 10 milligrams per liter of nitrate, we will be providing an alternative water supply. We, again, cannot stress this more. We will continue coordinating with property owners towards a short-term and definitely a long-term solution, which will be probably part of the ACP. I will try and always maintain open lines of communication. That is so that we can all work together, achieving what we're trying to do, which is to continue providing clean and safe water to the community. Next slide. How to get information. Right now, I'm the contact person. So Rosa's text and my email is here. Is also there's also a website, the City of Fresno website. We have a site on the department. I believe it's called Nitrate and Salinity and Nitrate Control Programs. That's how you can find all this information. You're gonna find these recorded presentation as well as fact sheets from different languages. And we are going to also provide this presentation in English and Spanish and Hmong, sorry. And so if you can, also we have fact sheets in there, and there's also information for contact. With that, this is the end of the presentation. And if you have any questions, this is, please, this is the time to place your questions so we can answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Snyder, and I will try to help facilitate the question and answer session. As mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, if you do have a question or something you want to discuss, please use the Q&A box on your screen. And if you're having difficulty with that, please raise your hand or try through your phone to let us know that you need to ask a question. And while we are waiting for that, the first question that I have for you, Rosa, is you mentioned that there are options for alternative water supply. How should property owners let you know what their preference might be, or how do they learn more about what those options are that Jeff described?
The city right now is working on getting services for bottled water and for under the sink treatment. And if the test results for a particular domestic well is over 10, there's going to be a communication with the property owner. We're going to have them fill an application. We're going to make sure that they are in the boundary area of the city of the boundary of a study that we delineated in the early through our analysis. And actually, because it takes a bit to get the under the sink unit, it's likely that we're going to start immediately with bottled water first. So, and then the property owner can always have the options of choose one or the other one. Although we prefer to have the same thing. We prefer to have under the sink systems. If they choose to do bottled water, that's what we're going to provide.
Thank you, Rosa. And the contact information on the screen is how people should start that discussion.
Yes.
Thank you. And Jeff, we had received a question about, who was contacted for this meeting. Some property owners said their neighbors might not have received a letter. Can you help us understand why some will have been contacted and others perhaps not?
Sure. We identified all of the houses that are located within the area of nitrate contribution. So if your house is within that area, then you should have been contacted by the city of Fresno. And if you're outside that area of nitrate contribution, then you should contact the King's Water Alliance to get your well sampled. The King's Water Alliance is the organization that addresses nitrates for the Kings Management Zone, which encompasses the Kings and Tulare Lake groundwater basins. And we have some contact information for the Kings Water Alliance if anyone needs that.
Great, thank you. Rosa, we had a question about, we've talked about the testing and that, you know, it's important that people contact you so that we can set that up. Once testing has begun, who are those results shared with beyond the property owner?
So right now, during our preliminary assessment of the quality of water, an effort that we started in 2019 already, contacting a number of wells owners. So when we sample a well, we set up the test result. A report is sent to the homeowner only. Later on, when we start our implementation of our program, it's likely that we are going to have to put some of the data on GeoTracker, at least of the nitrate data. But right now, the information is just returned back to the property owner. Of course, once we do the project and how we build the project with the data, the regional board is going to analyze the data too. So once it goes to the board, they probably will see the results, although we are being very careful in not providing any information outside of what we need for our study.
Thank you. And I'll send this to Jeff, but this is probably a question for both of you, just to make sure we're clear. What's the most important thing that that property owner should do right now so that we can move forward, and maybe say once again how that process will occur?
Well, the most important thing right now is for you to get in contact with the city and set up to get your well sampled. And that helps us have the information we need to complete our study. And it also helps to make sure that you have access to safe drinking water. Because if you're using domestic well water, really anywhere in the Central Valley, you should be getting your well tested for nitrate, just to make sure that your level is not above the drinking water standard.
Thank you, Jeff. I want to just make sure that folks that are in attendance have had the opportunity to ask a question. So I'll wait just a minute more and see if we have any raised hands. It does not appear so. So on behalf of Michael and Rosa and Jeff, I'll thank everyone for attending today. Again, the important thing is to get in touch so that we can keep this process moving forward. You have Rosa's contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, we will just thank you for joining us and wish you a good evening.